Welcome into the roundtable. I am Brad Wakai. That is Tyson Gentry. More of a somber type of episode here, not our normal NFL reaction episode here, Tyson. Obviously the sports world, the entire people watching this and kind of following the situation regarding Damar Hamlin is kind of shaken to their core when we were watching Monday Night Football. And so, that's going to be mainly what we're talking about here. And then, of course, we don't want to say turn the page, but there's major questions logistically about how the NFL finishes a season, and that's kind of where we're starting here. I know we were texting back and forth on Monday, and basically, we normally record every Monday. I mean, we were pretty like shaken up a bit, man. I mean, it was a scary situation. Like I was refreshing my Twitter feed as much as I could, just like praying for good news and hearing something about Hamlin. So. I don't know. What do you want to say about it to start?
Well, it's like it sucks, man. Like that's pretty much all you can say about it. Like it sucks. It's super shitty. Like there's no other way really to put it. And like I'm super proud of like humanity in a way that the GoFundMe now is at 5 million or whatever. That it's at right now for him and all that stuff it's awesome. But like you, man, I'm just refreshing my feed over and over again. And one of the things that's bugging me is like the general public has no knowledge of medical terms and stuff. And I think it almost would be better to go dark for a minute on some of this stuff. Cause like you're reading these things and like, I don't know what it means. Like I have to go to the comments and then find somebody that pretends they know what it means. So we're all like getting this information and nobody knows what's going on. I just think like it's a tragic situation and like unfortunately not much privacy for him or his family.
Yeah, and I think that's where when it's so public like this, I think that's where you're going to get so many different opinions and angles from every which way. People are obviously angry and scared, and so they act out in different manners. I mean, for me personally, I'm reaching out to friends I know in like the medical field, and I'm like you said, what does this mean? What are their options? Because I don't know, and I'm trying to find credible doctors. It's sports doctors mainly, like Dr. Chow is like a main one on Twitter that I was looking at. He was a former team doctor for the San Diego Chargers, so that's someone I knew would have an opinion, have at least right analysis, or be finding some sort of medical thing that I can fall back on. Here's what we know right now: heart condition. For those of you who aren't aware, it's something where he was hit directly at the impact spot, causing his heart to stop, and they had to perform CPR on the field to kind of bring him back to life and make sure that he was breathing again. He could not breathe on his own. Right now, he's in critical condition. Now, we are recording this on Tuesday. This occurred on Monday night, and it's still no update regarding he's in critical condition. So, I mean, that's just kind of where we're at. Maybe when this episode drops, Tyson, we'll have some good news, or hopefully, I mean, God forbid, it's worse news, but that's where we're at as we're recording this right now. Like you said, just a shitty situation, super scary, just rooting for him and his family and just hoping that it turns out the best for Damar Hamlin.
Yeah, it's one of those things that we all want to know right now because we all everybody that was watching the game saw that happen, right? Like it almost feels like we're in this together. It's not like it's very clearly not, but that's kind of the feeling you get talking to people. It's like everybody shares in this, and that's part of the reason I think it's so hard to keep it private. But like you might not know for weeks or a month, 2 months. Like it could be a long drawn out thing, and I think like the constant refresh and everything is just going to reach a point of like unhealthy. Like we're getting clickbaited on tweets about a 24-year-old being alive or dead. Like that's where we're at. Like that to me is about as low as it goes.
Yeah, and that's just a huge like microscopic look into our society as a whole, right? I mean, it's just when these moments come, you can really see into where society's at, where people think it's like funny or cool or whatever to be clickbaity or hot topic, hot takey. And I'm not going to address the Skip Bayless thing. If you don't know what I'm talking about, you can find that on your Twitter. I'm not here to comment. And Tyson, we don't really do that on our show where we comment on other people's comments. Like we're here. We started the show to give our opinions on the situations. We didn't think it'd have to be a situation like this. We thought we'd come and mainly talk about football. We don't really talk politics in this show. That's not our place. But this is a big story, and we have to address it here. But I did want to just shout out, and not necessarily they're going to hear this, but I do want to say, for those who haven't checked it out, I thought Scott Van Pelt and Ryan Clark did a great job.
Amazing.
I thought, and I thought it was rough at times for Booger and Susie and Adam Schefter. But
impossible situation
honestly,
though too.
It's an impossible situation.
It's fun to dunk on them and be like, because these are not the people. ESPN wouldn't pick this crew if they had to do this news. Like Troy and Joe did a good job for the circumstances, and I think they did a good job for the circumstances. But Scott Van Pelt is the pro's pro, and I think Ryan Clark might be the best player turned analyst or commentator as far as being serious and keeping a serious tone while also knowing what he's talking about. That was great.
Yeah, I thought that was really good. So did want to say that. And that's kind of like the whole overarching situation. Like there's the Damar Hamlin actual situation at hand, which we don't pretend to be medical doctors. We know probably as much as anybody else knows out there. All we can do is kind of just share our experiences in that. And then we can analyze what happened after. Now, like I said, we're not going to sit here and analyze Skip Bayless or anybody else's tweets. But I thought it was important to note that what SVP and Ryan Clark did kind of like, it was almost like a political statement, like face the nation in a way. Everybody was watching and they handled that, kind of gave some insight on that. So I thought, we'd want to share our thoughts on that.
It did feel like a state of a union,
right?
Kind of, yeah,
it did. Third one here, Tyson, is what everybody's discussing about the NFL and how they handled it. And I think we were texting last night. I think people may want to know our thoughts on it. I know people are offering up theirs on social media. But I'll give you the floor on this one because I know you had a couple thoughts on it just regarding what we were doing last night as the league handled everything.
Well, I just thought it was ridiculous. Like Joe Buck saying on the broadcast, the NFL told these teams they only have 5 minutes. The NFL and the NFLPA are saying we never said that. That's the way the rule's written in the rule book for when a severe stoppage of play happens. That doesn't mean somebody, may or may not be dead on the field. Like that's a completely, they didn't have a rule in the rule book. Oh, the NFL's insensitive and they don't care, blah, blah, blah. If they really didn't care, they would have probably forced both teams to forfeit. Like they would have made them get back on the field. Like to think that the NFL was acting in a malicious way, they would have played today. Like there would have been measures taken to ensure the game happens. And like one of my biggest things I was seeing online was people being upset. Like the fans are sitting there for an hour and a half with no news. And Buck kept mentioning it on the broadcast too. And it's like the ambulance is waiting for his mom and his sister to get into it. Do you think releasing, 40,000 people out onto the streets is going to help this kid get to the hospital that he needs to go to quickest? There's a lot more that goes into shutting down a complete NFL football game. And in a situation like that, like it's just people outcry and they just want to pick, like it's the NFL's fault, right? Because the NFL's huge and it happened at the NFL. If this happened in the NBA and they had something similar, it'd be like, Adam Silver, I can't believe you. It's the reality of the situation is, and I don't mean to seem too harsh, but like we weren't on the field. So you sending out tweets like, oh, they should have handled it this way and this way and this way. It's like, buddy, get off the couch. What are you talking about? Like, you're just a guy watching. Like that doesn't, you don't have, how would you have reacted in this situation? It was like, I thought it was super duper cool. That was the coolest part to me was everybody kneeling around kind of blocking the cameras because it got a little morbid. Constant replays and then zooming in on it. It was like, I get your money where you can, I guess, but it's disgusting.
Yeah, I know. And yeah, I mean, to the NFL point, I'm in the same boat with you. Now, if there comes out that there was a call made, and that's what I think.
I'll change my mind.
Are just right, and the people are just thinking they're in some ivory tower, like, ooh, let me just look down and like, no, get out in the field and make us our money. Like, that's not what's happening. Like, let's be honest here. They know these players, the people in the NFL office, a lot better than you and me and the people watching. Like, they're gonna be like, we saw the reaction of the players and coaches. Like, I'm sure that there are people in the league office who are feeling the same way. And like, we need to figure out how to handle this. We've never even dealt with something like this before. What's even the protocol? Okay, the referees, like they're sitting there like, okay, all we know is here's the handbook. It's 5 minutes to warm back up. Like, we haven't gotten a direction. I mean, we don't know what's going on. Like, nobody knew what was going on. And for people just to insinuate while they're sitting on their couch, oh, look at the NFL just being, so bad and this and that. Like, if that's what you want your opinion to be, that's fine. I think it's a wrong opinion to have, me personally. Like, I don't think there was any malicious intent coming from the NFL. And when Troy Vincent says, no, we didn't just give him the call, like the bat phone, all of a sudden, like, get back on the
That's
field.
what I'm
5
saying.
minutes
Like,
of play.
how are they going to even, first of all, get a hold of him in a situation like that? And then you got a bunch of people saying like it was Joe Burrow and Josh Allen and the captains and the coaches that decided not to play. And it's like, I think that they were given a choice. Like, to me, that's a movie that people are talking about. Like, that's a movie script where they all band together and, we're not going back out there no matter what they say. That's not real life. And if it comes out that I'm wrong, then I'll change my mind. And that's disgusting behavior by the NFL. But to be living in Hollywood, like Joe Burrow rallies the troops against the wicked NFL. It's like that you make yourself sound silly.
I know. And that was, I know we had a little bit of text like that. And I wanted to kind of get your opinion out in here. Just, we were waiting for information yesterday too. Like, we didn't know, like, if it came out, Troy Vincent was like, no, we did say 5 minutes. We made a mistake. Okay. We're like, geez, guys, come on. But they adamantly denied it. So now we're supposed to be like, oh, the NFL covering their ass again. It's like, okay, you're just cynical at this point. Like, if you don't believe the NFL, that's fine. But then don't be like, oh, never forget that the NFL told them that they had 5 minutes to warm up or else. It's like, I don't really think that was the situation. So, the only thing I can do is take the NFL at their word for what they said in an insane, unprecedented, scary, life-threatening situation that nobody had known how to handle before this had taken place. And that's basically where we're at on Monday night.
And also, just, I think people should keep T. Higgins in their thoughts as well. Because, like, I mean, I'm 26, and I couldn't imagine being 23 playing a game for millions of dollars anyways. And then to have this happen, and then you're supposed to be expected, a week later to go out there, get on the field and compete, not only for the division, but then you're gearing up trying to go to the Super Bowl. Because all that was we were texting about that too. You see that 100 times a week throughout the entire slate of games. Like those happen. That's just kind of what they call a football play, right? It just happened to be sweet spot or wrong place, wrong time, or whatever you want to call it. I mean, it's a 1 in a million event, and I just hope that he's able to rebound from this too, because everybody on the field is going to have some sort of incident trauma. I'm sure of it, and I think that T. Higgins probably, there's a video of his mom walking him around with her arm around him, always crying. Like that to me, obviously secondary to the health and the safety and all that stuff. But like they're real people. And when you're yelling at them about your fantasy lineups and you forget that they're 23, 24 years old, imagine you were like walking down the street and some kid was working construction and you just fucking let him have it because it's like, what are you doing? Like,
right?
These people are it's sharks, man.
Yeah, and it's just a good reminder that there's like bigger things in life than
they're people.
Us, right? Like, oh, my fantasy team did bad this week because you didn't play well. It's like, okay, well, it's not everything's about you. And I think this was a reminder, as as sad as it was, that life is more important than anything we can imagine. And that, like you said at the top too, the $5 million that have been donated, to support the family of Damar Hamlin, his toy drive. I mean, that's just an example that humanity can be good. And it's just unfortunate it takes incidents like these to remind us that. And that's just kind of where we're at in the society, unfortunately. Like I said, we're sitting here like everybody else, hoping and praying for good news and hoping that, Damar Hamlin will be back and joining us in the world and witnessing everything. And that's kind of really, Tyson, all the situation, we can really react to at the moment and really give an opinion on. Like we said, we're not medical doctors, but we're going to wait for this. Now, unfortunately, maybe fortunately, I'm not sure, it depends on kind of how you think about it, but the NFL is going to move on, at some point in time. When that's to be determined. I mean, the NFL has to make a real decision here. And I think we should touch on that a little bit. I mean, maybe it's not the time or place, but, this is what's happening in the NFL office right now. Like, they're trying to figure out how to navigate the rest of the season while they're handling with the Damar Hamlin unfortunate situation here. I've heard, or I've read, not me hearing or any sources or anything, I've read from other people on Twitter or in the media, they may not play this week at all. Like, they may just not play the games this week, try to extend the season. I don't know how that works with TV rights, but that's a real possibility that there's no football this season at the NFL level. Another possibility I'm hearing too, Tyson, or that I'm reading, Tyson, is they may just cancel this game, not give a loss or a win to the Bengals or the Bills. Now, how does that affect playoff seeding? That's something for the NFL to determine, because by that standard, the Chiefs automatically have the 1 seed if they beat the Raiders. So, it's an interesting situation, something that the NFL has to navigate. I mean, just what are your thoughts on what you think they should do? What you think needs to happen?
Well, I was too young for 9/11, but they canceled a week of games there and then took the 2-week break out between the Super Bowl and just made it a week and pushed the game back. And if they want to reschedule, I think that probably makes the most sense from that angle. I don't like when you say cancel the games. Are you saying cancel just week 18 or cancel the rest of the season?
They're saying they may cancel the rest of the season.
That would be tough to do. I think there's like it's tragic.
I'm not saying the playoffs. I'm sorry, the rest.
Oh, gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. If you cancel next week, I think that's something that probably is like on the very bottom of their list if they can't come to an agreement on what to do. But part of the reason they might not be able to come to an agreement on what to do is like the Bills play the Patriots next week. If the Bills decide to forfeit, like they don't want to play, they can't play emotionally, mentally right now, the Patriots just automatically make the playoffs. And then you have 5 billionaire owners who, unfortunately, and I don't know these people, I'm just taking a random guess, like they'll be pissed. Like it doesn't matter the circumstances of this, they'll be upset. And then if you go to the 16 games for the Bills and the Bengals, like if the Ravens win next week, then they can say, well, why do they get to have a higher win percentage than us and win the division? If they would have lost that game, we'd be division champs. And you can, play that game. The Bills could be the 1 seed. The Bengals could be the 1 seed. There's just so many moving parts that, like, to me, the most sense would be like, we don't play week 17 or week 18 and we get back to it next year. And there'll be people that are pissed. But to be honest with you, in the NFC, like, the Giants just clinched their playoff berth, and Daboll says that he's going to play his starters, and that always sounds good till it takes place. And they play 2 snaps, and Philly's playing to win, and they wrap up the 1 seed. And maybe they go out and lose. They look bad. Jalen Hurts doesn't play. You're hoping for so many other things to happen as far as like the chaos that everyone wants at the top. Mm-hmm. The real teams that are affected are Titans, Jaguars. Like, how does that work? You run through like
Packers,
Steelers. What happens with all these teams? And those are the ones that will be the most affected. But to be honest, and it's a product, and wildcard teams sometimes win. But I think the NFL is probably more interested in figuring out what happens at the top than really. I think that, to be honest with you, I think debating Patriots versus somebody else in the AFC is so low on the list of the NFL's to do right now that they're just trying to figure it out. I think they could give 2 shits whether it's New England in the wild card off of a forfeit or what.
Yeah, I'm curious to understand kind of what they're thinking. What are the conversations? Obviously, this has to be negotiated and approved by the NFLPA as well. So it's not just the NFL sitting up there on their ivory throne and like, let's make decisions for everything. There's a process to this. They're going to have to negotiate with the owners. They're going to have to communicate with the NFLPA and come to an agreement that everybody wants to kind of decide on. I know there's going to be some defectors. There's going to be some people who aren't interested in probably what's going to happen at the end. But I mean, this is the NFL season is going to continue at some point. We just don't know when, and it's looking right now it's going to continue this week.
And I think that's an important point, is that it's not going to be perfect, and somebody's getting screwed. Like, that's just the way that this thing's going to shake out. And for 1 or 2 teams' fan bases, this is going to be, they'll be pissed about it. But again, the bigger picture here, the other part, and this is secondary, but for everybody that's pissed and makes fun of the NFL for having a 17-game season, this is stupid. Go back to the way it was. And now you're caught here, and you're like, "Whoa, they played 17." Shut up. They can't be both sides. If you lay down, face forward, and put the pole in your mouth, you sleep easier. Like, get off the fence, brother.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. Well, I mean, that's our NFL recap over the weekend. Obviously not the best circumstances, not how we expected to be breaking down anything that happened from the past weekend. Our thoughts and prayers are with Damar Hamlin, with him and his family, hoping for the best news possible. College football reaction episode is coming out soon. We will talk to you all then. Peace.